Howdy guys, welcome to the channel. My name is Boris and you're watching another episode of Boco's Diesel Garage. Right behind me here we have an 84 Mercedes W123. It's a 300D and it is having some issues with the heat. It's not actually one of my cars. Someone else from a Facebook group dropped it off here and wanted me to take a look at it. So we'll delve right into it here. So this is the car here. It actually looks pretty nice. I thought at first like the paint looks so nice on it, but then I looked inside the engine compartment and actually looked like someone repainted it at some point. You can see a little bit of overspray and actually looks like it was a different color at first. It was like a bluish color or something. But anyway, overall this is a pretty nice car. And the interior looks pretty good on it too. It does have a few issues. I noticed it was leaking fuel from the fuel filter here. Also, it still has the original fuel pump, the hand primer, I mean, right there, the priming pump that I'm pointing at. Anytime you have one of those that hasn't been replaced, if it's the original, it will look like this. They almost always leak and it looks a little wet around there. I don't think it's leaking all that much. I'm not going to worry about it. He didn't want me to work on that, but just something to point out. The car starts a little bit hard. It runs a little rough at first. I also noticed it has a little blow by, but then when it warms up it seems to run pretty good. Surprisingly, it does not have a vacuum leak. Like all the door locks work on it. After you turn the car off and you lock the doors with the key, it actually works. Even after sitting for a couple of days, it's still like you go to unlocking it and all the door locks pop up. So that is pretty cool. You don't see that much on these older ones. But yeah, the main issue he wanted me to look at is that he was telling me his heat was working only sporadically, and that could be a couple issues. One of the issues, or one of the things that could be causing that issue, is your automatic climate control system right here. Now these, when you pull them out, I'll look like this one here. You pull it out, and I opened this up already so I could show you guys. One of the issues that can, one of the causes that can give you a sporadic heat, it working every now and then, is so you take this back plate off and you can see all these solder joints right here all the way along, as well as on the other side here. Now these can crack because this board is attached to this side board that runs down on both sides, and these joints right here is also where it connects. So these can crack and come apart, and this one actually looks really good. Like they're all in good order, so it doesn't look like that is the problem. So I pulled it out, looked at it. This all seems to be working well, so that is not in this case that is not what's causing the sporadic heat. Another thing he told me, he was saying like when he goes over 60 the heat doesn't work anymore. So that leads me to believe that maybe the monovalve is bad. So I have one right here too, out of a different car. This is what a monovalve looks like. You can see the arrow on here. This is where the coolant comes in, and then this on the bottom, it will come out. And there is a little plunger in here, and it basically closes off this heating ports and opens it up, and that regulates the heat that you're getting. So depending on how much coolant is flowing through here. So this top portion right here is an electromagnet. So when this gets charged, you can see the connector right here. When electricity gets applied to this, it will activate that plunger, and it will, depending on your climate settings, it'll either open or close it. I'm not sure if it's closed by default or open by default, but it does one of the other. And you don't have to take this whole thing out to diagnose it. Usually these plastic you know, the housing, there's no issues with that unless you have a crack in it or something. You don't really need to pull this. You can just take these 4 screws out from the top and take this unit off, and then pull out the plunger, and we'll do that in a little bit and I'll show you guys. But first of all, I want to take this out for a test drive to see if that could be the cause. I want to drive it while it still has the original Monovalve in it, and then see how the climate control is working right now. Okay, so just at idle, when I looked at this before, it was actually working pretty well. Normal heat setting you use is the economy setting. If you want full heat, you use the defrost. And you can hear the fans coming on at full speed right now. And actually it seems to be working pretty well in all these different settings. One of the things the guy was also complaining about is that there's no heat coming out of these 2 center fans. And my other 2, I have an 85 and an 82 300D, and they have this, you know, the same issue. There's never any heat coming out of these. So I did some research on that, and actually these center fans will only blow cold air from the AC, and the AC isn't working in this car. So that's the reason that there's never any air coming out of these 2 center fans. That is normal. That is the same in all these cars. Only cold air will come from this. So if your AC isn't working, you're not going to get any air from these 2 center vents. But on the side ones, I can feel warm air coming out of this one. I can feel warm air coming out of this one here, as well as the fence down below. There's air coming out of there, and there's air coming out of up here, and it's actually a good flow. It doesn't seem like it's restricted or anything. It actually seems to be working pretty well right now at idle. So I'll drive out of town and we'll see if it stops working once I get up to speed or not. Alright, so as you can see, the car is completely warmed up. I want to rule that out and then have my heat turned up all the way to max. Right now it's on economy setting. I'm gonna put it on defrost just for this test. I'm on the on-ramp to the freeway here, so I'm just gonna go up to like 70, 80 miles an hour and see if it's still working well or not. So far I've only driven it on the county road, and it did work a little bit better, seems like, at lower speeds than once I got up to about 60, but I haven't been able to go any faster than that yet. So this will be the test here. I can't really film it and like feel the heat and drive at the same time, so I'll let you guys know how it goes. Alright, so we're back at the shop here. I took it out on the highway, drove it on the county roads a little bit, and I basically just like kept my hand on the heater here to feel it the whole time and see how things are going. And it actually is putting out heat the whole time at all speeds, but it is significantly less once you get up to highway speeds, especially when you get up to like 70. It is like the blower motor will still be going, but the air that's coming out is definitely not as warm as it is when you're driving at slower speeds. So what that leads me to believe is, I'll shut her off here. What that leads me to believe that it could very well be the Monovalve. So I'll take this one apart and kind of show you guys how this works. There's a spring in there that can get worn out, and that is probably what is causing it to give you good heat at lower speeds but not at higher speeds. That's probably the spring. If you have intermittent heat or no heat at all, then it could be that the valve isn't opening or closing, that it's just stuck, or that the diaphragm is worn out in here, or that maybe like your electromagnet isn't working. But because it's not given as much heat at higher speeds, I think it's probably that the spring is worn out. So I'll take this one apart. This is a good one that I have. It's a newer one, and I'll show you guys what it looks like, and then we'll take the one out of this car and see how that one looks, and if that's our problem, we'll swap these two out and take it for another test drive. Alright, so here's the good monovalve that I had. I took the screws off the top. I'll lay it down here so we can do this one-handed and pull this out. You might get lucky and have it all come out as one piece, or this top part might come off first, because this all does come apart. It's a little hard to do it one-handed. There's 3 washers on there. So, and this comes apart too. So this is right here, this is the electromagnet. This right here has a little notch on this side, and there's a little bit of a bump right there. You want to make sure that lines up with the notch. And just drop this one. And there's 3 washers on there. The top one is the big one. Then there's a wavy washer and a little one at the bottom. This is what a good one looks like. When I pull this out, the spring will push it back up. There's good tension on there. Spring is working well, and you can see the diagram is good. There's no holes in there, so that's what a good one will look like. Now I've waited a little while to let the car cool down, so now I'm gonna go ahead and pull the one out of the car and see what that one looks like. Alright, so this is a pretty simple job. All the tools needed for it are right here. Flathead screwdriver. This you may or may not need, and then a 10 mil. So first I'm gonna let this vent. Make sure we don't have a lot of pressure on it still. Yes, we did have some pressure on it. And, then I'm gonna tighten this again. I'm gonna turn it off for a second. Okay, so it's been about an hour since I ran it. I let it cool down. I vented this and I put it back on, because I don't wanna let air get in there when I go ahead and open this. So this is pretty simple. There's this little electrical connector. This pulls off like that. Put it to the side. It helps a little when you pull the trim off. Gonna have a little more room behind here. And then first thing I do is take these off. So sometimes the bottom piece right here will spin, and you have to use this to hold it in place. Looks like these are coming out pretty easily. Alright, when you have taken these 2 bolts out, this can slide off a little bit towards here. That way you have enough clearance to get the screwdriver in here and get these back screws off. Otherwise, if it's still underneath here, like this is all in the way, you can't really get to it. Right, the 4 flathead screws are out, so now you should be able to just pull on this and get it to come off. So in this case, it's not coming off the same way as my other one did. This is a little bit stuck in here. There we go. Okay. So here we are. Alright, so I'm standing in the sun, so hopefully you can see this. I don't know, but you can see that the diaphragm is broken on it. And also the spring is not very strong. It still kind of works, but it's not, doesn't put as much tension on it as it should. And you can see the diaphragm is broken, so that is definitely not creating a good seal that way. So it could very well be that our heater issues are because of this monovalve right here, because this one is definitely bad. So I'm gonna swap it out with the good one, and we'll take it for another test drive and see if that fixes our issues. Alright, so I took her out for a test drive after replacing the monovalve, and everything is working perfectly right now. I can just adjust the temperature on here. It works well. If I have to heat up all the way, it works the same at all speeds, no matter how fast you're going. Maybe it even works just slightly better going above 60 actually, which would make sense because you have the added benefit of the air being pushed in through the car just from outside because you're going fast. So unfortunately, I wasted a lot of time messing around with the climate controller here, the control system itself. Like I showed you guys, this box, it's kind of hard to take this out. You gotta start by taking this out, and then the radio, and then up there. So it takes a while, and then you gotta open this backside to look at those solder joints. But in this case, that was not the issue. That is a common one though if you have intermittently working heat. However, if your heat stops working at speeds, at highway speeds, or when you're going faster, then most likely it is going to be your monovalve. This was the case with this car as well, so I'm really happy I got that fixed. Tomorrow I'm gonna do maybe I'll do another video, but tomorrow I'm gonna take a look at why it's starting so hard and running so rough when it's cold, on a cold start, because it starts up fine and runs real good after it's been warmed up. So it could very well be the glow plugs. That's what I'm hoping. It could also be misfiring on one cylinder. I couldn't really tell. So that'll be the next video on this car, and then it's going back to its owner. So well, hope you guys enjoyed it. Hopefully this was helpful to some of you guys, and if so, please leave me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel for more videos. Alright, thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys in the next one.